You're not dramatic. Your nervous system is exhausted. And that's exactly why you keep losing yourself. You've spent the past year shapeshifting for people who wouldn't even do basic emotional labor for you. You keep adjusting your personality, your preferences, your boundaries, just to keep the peace, keep the vibe, keep the connection alive. And now you're shocked that you don't even recognize yourself anymore? Let's fix that before you walk into 2026 as a blurry version of who you were meant to be. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You don't lose yourself by accident. You lose yourself because your brain thinks it's safer that way. Overthinkers don't wake up one day suddenly confused about who they are. It happens slowly, quietly, and honestly, strategically. Your nervous system is basically running a survival script in the background, and the script goes, if I stay predictable, agreeable, and low maintenance, I'll be safe. Safe from conflict, safe from disappointment, safe from being abandoned, safe from being too much. That's why you keep shapeshifting. You're not trying to fake a personality. You're trying to avoid danger, even if the danger is just someone having a slightly weird tone in a text message. Identity gets messy because you're operating like a human emotional Wi-Fi router. You're scanning every room, every conversation, every relationship for signals. Did their face change? Did their tone shift? Did they seem a little distant? Did I say something wrong? Should I switch energy to match theirs? Should I tone down? Should I act happier? More chill? Less intense? Your brain is constantly trying to manage the emotional climate so nothing blows up. That instinct? That's fawning. The survival response nobody warns you about when you grow up being the responsible one. The chill one, or the one who never causes problems. Fawning is basically your nervous system telling you, just be whatever they need so you don't get hurt. So you do it, over and over, until your personality becomes a collage of everyone else's comfort zones. That's why this year felt heavy. You weren't living your life. You were performing a version of yourself that everyone else preferred. And performances are exhausting because you always have to keep track of who you are in front of who. You censor yourself before anyone else gets the chance. You minimize your needs because you don't want to be too much. You get validation for being low maintenance, then stay trapped in that role. You confuse being tolerated with being understood. By the end of the year, your identity is stretched so thin, it's basically transparent. You don't feel like yourself because you stopped choosing yourself a long time ago. And here's the part most people avoid admitting. Losing yourself feels familiar, and familiar feels safe, even when it drains you. But this is the exact cycle you're breaking before 2026 hits. Before you rebuild anything, you need to figure out where you've disappeared this year. Losing yourself doesn't happen in one dramatic moment. It's slow, sneaky, and honestly kind of embarrassing how subtle it is. So here's your audit, the part where you stop pretending I'm just tired and admit you've been slowly dissolving into the vibes of whoever you're with. Start with one question. Where did I shrink the most this year? Not where you were stressed, not where life was busy, where you shrunk. Pick one category so your brain doesn't spiral into a full identity crisis. Identity. Ask yourself, did you water yourself down so you'd be easier to handle? Maybe you stopped talking about your interests because nobody else cared. Maybe you changed your personality depending on who you were with. More quiet here, more cool there, more chill everywhere, because you didn't want to seem needy or too much. Maybe you started acting like the easygoing one because the alternative was conflict. Identity leaks through the tiny moments you tell yourself. It's whatever, it doesn't matter, it matters. It mattered every time. Boundaries. Ask yourself, where did you let people walk in, walk through, or walk all over you? Did you say yes just to avoid being the difficult one? Did you respond quickly to people who never answer you back? Did you let others decide your time, your energy, and your emotional bandwidth? Did you let people back in just because they said sorry? Did you forgive behavior that kept happening? Boundaries aren't just rules. They're identity markers. Every time you broke one, you chipped away at who you are. Coping habits. Ask yourself, what did you use to avoid your real feelings? Did you scroll for hours to avoid thinking? Did you stay busy so you wouldn't have to be honest with yourself? Did you overhelp others so you didn't have to face your own mess? Did you laugh everything off because vulnerability felt like weakness? Coping habits can be sneaky. They convince you you're fine while quietly pulling you away from the real you. Self-worth. Ask yourself, where did you accept the bare minimum and pretend it was enough? Did you tolerate inconsistency from people just to avoid losing them? Did you chase validation from people who couldn't even show up? Did you blame yourself for things that weren't your fault? Did you settle for attention when what you really needed was effort? Did you lower your standards because holding them felt lonely? Every time you accepted crumbs, you taught your identity to expect less. Now here's the real punchline. The place where you shrank, bent, tolerated, or pretended. This is exactly where your identity started leaking. You didn't lose yourself everywhere. You lost yourself in specific situations with specific people, in specific moments where your needs didn't feel safe. And until you name the exact spot where you disappeared, you can't rebuild the version of you that deserves to exist in 2026. 2026 is not your reinvention era. It's your realignment era. Reinvention is exhausting. Reinvention is dramatic. Reinvention usually means I'm running away from myself because the old me wasn't working. That's not what you need. What you're doing in 2026 is simpler, but way more powerful. You're coming back to yourself, not a new character, not an aesthetic upgrade. You're rebuilding the version of you that existed before you started shrinking in rooms that didn't deserve you. Because here's the real shift. Your identity cannot survive in environments where you're constantly shrinking. I don't care how strong you are, how self-aware you are, how healed you think you are. If you keep entering spaces that require you to be less, your sense of self will keep fading until you're basically running the emotional version of airplane mode. This is why 2026 needs different settings. Identity isn't built from glow-ups or journaling marathons. Identity is built from the decisions you stop abandoning yourself in. So in 2026, bring back the version of you that stops over-explaining your choices, says no without giving a whole essay, protects their energy like it actually matters, chooses people who don't get intimidated by your growth, sends shorter replies when someone drains you, walks away faster instead of clinging to potential, honors their own preferences instead of waiting for someone to approve them, stops negotiating their worth like it's a clearance sale item, gives the exact same effort they receive, not extra, not discounted. This is the year you stop performing. Seriously. The whole let me be what they need so they don't leave storyline is tired and needs to be deleted like an old save file. You don't rebuild a self by people-pleasing. You rebuild a self by tolerating the discomfort of being misunderstood, disliked, or not immediately validated. And yeah, that's the part you've been avoiding. Because being yourself feels risky when you're used to being the version of yourself everyone approves of. But being lost feels worse, and you're done with that. 2026 is the year you stop abandoning yourself to keep the peace. It's the year you become someone you actually recognize again. Before you scroll away and pretend you didn't feel this in your soul, do this. Write down one moment in 2025 where you abandoned yourself. One situation where you stayed quiet, shrank, said yes, or pretended you didn't care. Then rewrite that exact moment as the 2026 version of you. The version with boundaries, the version with a spine, the version who doesn't bend just to keep the peace. This is your first brick in rebuilding your identity. If you're serious about not losing yourself again, hit subscribe and stay for the next 2026 rebuild videos. Don't do this journey halfway. Commit to it.